morning.
Hey, good morning.
What's going on?
More noise in your house than over here. I'm very quiet in my serenity of the studio. Beautiful trees outside. The only thing I see walking by is some squirrels and some wild turkeys. Good. But you, on the other hand,
I'm
chaos.
living in chaos.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I have 3 floors of craziness. I have my bottom floor where I'm doing basement renovations. I have my middle floor that I have a friend's dog staying with us that won't stop barking because the dog sees squirrels outside of our window, both in the front yard and the backyard, and chipmunks and, basic stuff that people see in suburbia.
yeah.
Um, and apparently the dog's mission is to rid the world of evil squirrels and chipmunks.
Ah.
Still barking, so no problem. And then on my upper floor, I have 2 cats that are mad at me because I brought in the evil beast that is the dog. And they're all over me going, how could you even relax at a time like this? We're under attack. So
So my studio is much nicer. Quiet, peaceful, serene. But you know what? It's beautiful. I don't know what it's like there. It's beautiful. It's really, really sunny. And when I woke up this morning, like we're on the water, and so when you
yeah,
wake up, sometimes anyone who's stayed at my place knows you have to wear sunglasses when you get up because I
yeah.
don't have any blinds. So, and it doesn't usually happen during the winter, right? And then
Yeah.
this morning I woke up and it was blinding, and I was like, I got excited because it feels like, okay, it's almost time. The snow is going to go away now. And yesterday I had a very exciting shopping trip to Walmart. And
Oh, very exciting.
and when I was in there, what was interesting is what was out? All the patio furniture.
Oh, I love that time of year where it's like, oh, the dream of sitting on the dock on a chair.
So I kind of got, yeah, I felt really good today because it was like, wow, like, sometimes when you live in a country where there's so much winter, right? It gets like it does. It's great for a while, and then around probably I would say, end of February, early
Right
March, it
now.
gets kind of depressing, right?
Yeah,
Because you're
right
just
now
like,
is, yeah.
yeah, I'm done. I don't want this stuff anymore. I don't want to wear a coat and boots. See, I said boots like a Canadian, and I don't, and I don't want to do this anymore. So, yeah, so it's kind of exciting. And I was just thinking as we were walking, it has nothing to do with business, but as we were walking, as I came in, I was like, you know what? I actually today was the first day I missed the chickens. Because I was like, oh, it's such a pretty day out. It would be great to say good morning, chickens, and
Good
feed them.
morning to the, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah,
uh,
I feel like there's 2 times a year where we get excited going into a store. Like we go, and this time of year where we're kind of done
yeah.
with winter and we're excited to see the patio furniture. Um, and, uh, and then there's like the fall when we see the Christmas decorations come
Yeah.
out and we get excited for, the holidays. Doesn't matter what you celebrate, but just sort of that winter
Yeah.
stuff, and we get excited about that and the full change of season.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah,
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is, you start like again, you feel like it's all like this rejuvenation thing, right? Because you're like, oh, you get all excited because there's a change. And
exactly.
I wonder, and we have this 4 times a year up here, but I wonder, like, you guys are loyal viewers, can tell me if you're living in like California or Florida, what's that like? Like, I know the weather's fabulous, but it's always the same. So do you ever get that, like, some change that gets you excited? Because for us, a weather change is exciting, right?
Exactly, it's very true.
So, but it does, certainly affects your business. Like I said yesterday, I was like, oh, okay, let's do something new. Let's get going. And like before then, for the last 3 weeks, I was like trudging, like, oh,
Well, it affects your business because it affects your mood,
yeah,
right? Like you're right. Like we get excited, and we get excited when we're developing new things. We get excited when we find new, softwares of things that we can do or do things differently or whatever. And that rejuvenation of seeing patio furniture can give you that,
yeah, yeah,
feeling of, okay, I'm ready. Let's take on spring and create
yeah,
something new. But you're right. When you're in the sort of the end of the winter, you're like, I just got to get through. So
yeah.
again, creating things, developing new programs, putting together new things doesn't exactly happen at the rate at which it does in the spring. At least not in our world.
No, so it'd be interesting if anyone wants to send us a little comment, let us know, because I am curious as to how, I mean, on the flip side, I'm sure whoever writes in is going, well, we get up every morning and go for a hike or go for a run, and the weather's always beautiful, and we're always sitting at the patio. So maybe you don't need it. Maybe it's
Well,
always
maybe they're just always on that high, right?
maybe.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting. Maybe we should try it. Because it's true.
I would be open-minded to
Yeah.
give that a shot for a year.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I remember my friend first moved to Australia, and she said the biggest thing for her was like the kids starting school in like the summer, but it's
Yeah.
not, it's their winter, but it's summer.
Yeah.
And she said the change of seasons isn't as extreme.
Yeah.
And then Christmas is in the summertime. So she goes, it took her probably a few years to really adjust to that.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're used to things happening at certain times of the year, and you expect certain temperatures and weather and stuff like that. So,
and that's also why, anyone who lives in a northern climate, or around the world's different, but in the northern climate, it's you have to be cognizant of those things. I mean, we had certain events that we had to cancel because there were snowstorms. So we're always paying attention to like, oh, do we really want to do something in February? Because it's probably going to get canceled.
Well, you have to prepare for flexibility.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what you just kind of have to do, because if you are going to run an event in Canada or Northern Hemisphere in January, February, or March, there is a very good possibility that you will have to reschedule or cancel because of weather.
Yeah. Now, saying that, everyone who's in the Northern Hemisphere, it takes a lot for you not to go to an event. I mean, it really has to be a snowstorm. Whereas, if you're in the southern areas, if it like sprinkles snow once, it's like doesn't even stay on the ground, everything shuts down. So
because they don't have the infrastructure to deal with it, but they also don't have the experience. So for us, if it's snowing, it's like, oh, no problem. I'll drive for a couple hours if it's snowing, but it has to be like a major snowstorm to shut us down.
Yeah, interesting.
And even if it is a major snowstorm, we still go to a concert. So, it's not that bad.
Yes. Speaking of, John Mayer's coming up next Monday.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think that what we're noticing too is, and it might just be, it's twofold. One is it's spring and people are getting out there. It's not spring, but you know what I mean. It feels like spring is coming. People are getting out there. And I think what I've noticed in the last, really just in the last week, I think everyone's starting to come out from the COVID hibernation, because people are starting to, you're seeing, some of my clients who are looking for help, they're getting lots of resumes where they never used to get people applying for like years.
That's interesting.
So they're getting people applying, people are coming out. We know people that were, kind of sitting and waiting. Now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we want to join the podcast mastermind because it's time now to get back into business. And, we kept saying for a long time, we can tell it's coming, but I think really in the last week, I've noticed a profound difference in how people are reacting. So I think people are just tired of staying home and watching Netflix, and it's time to go out there and do stuff. So that's great. It's great for everyone that is running a business that has been struggling and holding on, because a lot of people with small businesses have just been holding on. And the only advice I really want to tell everyone is that, it is turning. So hold on a little more. Don't give up yet.
Yeah.
Don't give up yet. It's again, it's the hardest thing is trying to get through some of these slumps. And then once you do, you'll realize that the business will come back. So
I'm expecting a lot of people to go full force sort of now that we've hit again the spring, because we've kind of come through. You're right. I felt last summer people kind of, they went out, but they were kind of dipping their toe.
Yeah.
Going out, they were going out to like
cold. Water's still cold. I don't want to jump in yet.
Exactly. Oh, and just people were going out if it was outside.
Yes.
right? There wasn't as many people going inside events. So now we went into the winter months, and now that we're coming out of that, I feel like, yeah, like people are reaching out, seeing
Yeah.
a lot more activity, seeing a lot more in-person events, seeing a lot more in-person
Yeah.
networking events. We had our first Clubhouse event last Thursday.
Yeah.
Sorry, not our first, our second.
Yeah.
Some number. And there was a lot of people that came out, and we
Yeah.
really, like, that was really cool to see. Like, I wasn't really sure, like, people were still like, we had
Yeah.
rescheduled it. We weren't really sure. Again, weather always has an impact, but we had a
Yeah.
really good turnout. So
Yeah.
like, it was a
And I
really,
think,
a really good sign that people are ready to come out. People are ready to go back to
yeah.
in-person and networking and getting together. So
Yeah, and I think that we'll see a lot more in the next couple of months that, and I mean, even I was noticing, like last night I'm going to be in the city next week, by the way, for a couple of days. I haven't told you yet, but and then I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I would really like to go. The art gallery has a Leonard Cohen exhibit, for those of you who know who that is, and I'm like, oh, I think I'd like to do that, and I haven't thought about stuff like that in years, right?
right.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Anthea's just saying the same thing. I'm seeing a lot more activity in the last couple of weeks. So it's interesting
Yeah,
just to see people kind of coming back. And, we've been having conversations with different people about our masterminds. We were on the phone last night with somebody that we're in conversations with about running a mastermind under Mastermind City, which is really exciting.
yeah.
And then, but we're also having conversations. This is the funny part. We have to have this conversation because of the insanity that is the sales cycle of some of these programs. So we're also reaching out because, again, it's spring, and Faye and I love our products, and we love AppSumo, absolutely. But we're also looking at other programs and products to be able to incorporate into Mastermind City.
Yeah.
So we've reached out, and I think I'm fascinated by the process that they're all going through. It's not just one, but they're all going through to get to the final answer of yes.
Old school. We're going to teach you guys not to do old school if you're in any of our masterminds, because it's a little ridiculous, little dated.
So it
And
was, so first it was a phone call. So you participated in that initial phone call. So going
Yeah.
really old school, like, I'm interested in this product.
like on the
So
phone, not on a Zoom, on the phone.
So they got you on the phone. So what was the process? Are they just sort of vetting you to see if
Yeah,
you're
so they
worth
wanted
their
to say,
time?
so, which is kind of silly because the vetting could have been done if they had just read what they asked me to write, right on the opt-in form, on the form that said I'm interested. You don't really need a phone call, right? Unless they're trying to confirm if you're legit, if it's a real person or not. But yeah, so I don't like being on the phone. I don't like it. You tell me to send me a link. When somebody just says, "Oh, I'll call you," I am always like, "What?" Send me a link. I'll jump on Zoom or Wave or Teams or Google Meet, whatever you want. But just don't call me, because I think after the advent of, well, after COVID, I mean, everyone is now very comfortable seeing you face to face, right?
Yeah.
And not comfortable. I'm not comfortable talking to somebody that I can't see anymore. Don't like it. Don't like it. I want to know that they're not reading the script, that they're listening to what I have to say. So yeah, that was the first.
So that's
It
the
was
first step. So but this is not just, again, this isn't just one company. This is probably 3 or 4, and they all
Yeah.
have the same process.
Yeah.
And then they do the phone call, and then the
Mhm.
second step, which is what we thought would be a product demo,
Yeah.
wasn't.
No. It was another call to see if you were qualified to talk to them. We're not talking about $1 million product here, right?
No.
Like it's an investment, but not that much. So,
But the second call it wasn't even it was to show you how awesome their product was.
right.
That's how I felt. It was, here's some case studies, here's some client, stuff
Yeah.
that they had done.
Right.
Here's the front end of what you can't
But
see.
here's what I would point out again to people who are listening, because if you're doing any of this or selling anything, if I filled out a form that says I am interested in your product, it means that I've already checked out the front. right?
Right.
I've already seen your sales page. I've already seen your testimonials because they're probably on the front. You don't need to walk me through that page. I was very clear. I'd like to see the back end UX, the user interface, so that I know how simple it is to use, because we're always looking for simplicity for our clients.
Yeah.
And so I was very, very clear, very clear. So,
But to go through now too, so a phone call to see
yeah,
if you're, so I don't really have an issue with that one if the middle part wasn't there. If you went right
right.
from quick
Phone call to
conversation
demo.
to make sure that you're a real human, you're not a
Yeah,
robot, you understand sort of what you signed up for, vetting phone call quick. Okay, now let's book a product
yeah.
demo. But the
Or,
other issue, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I also prefer, like, I'm more like immediate, because here's the thing. If somebody, it's kind of like if you're interested in our mastermind, you can go ahead and book a appointment right away. There's our calendar right on the front page. Go ahead and book a call, and you can book for that date, like the next appointment, and you will call and talk to somebody about it, right? Because you're interested in that moment. But so this is what I would do if I was your sales manager in these companies. I would tell you, like, instead of doing 15-minute block out an hour and say, call this person. If they're really interested, immediately switch to a demo.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm hot right now. I'm a hot lead. I'm very interested in your product, and you're making me wait. I don't like to wait when I'm interested in something, because you know what happens? We find alternatives. And
Well,
that's why I'm talking at 5.
I guess that's the fascinating, because so you're right. I would absolutely do that, because the problem faced, so again, we have just to go through that. Call one, are you
Yeah.
a real human? Vetting you, no problem. Call two, show the front end information. And we even said on one of the calls, okay, we love it. Like, we're
Yeah.
ready. We're here. We're interested.
Yeah.
Like, again, hot lead, like, strike while the iron's hot. Like, we might have even signed on, like, right in the moment. Show us the back end so that we understand how it works. Because, like you said, we don't buy something unless we know it's going to be an easy interface. We need to
Yeah.
see how to actually build on the back end. No, we can't
So
do
now
that.
we're,
That is not what this call is about. I
yeah.
am unable to talk about that during this call. That is going to be talked about on the next call, which now we have to schedule.
And I think old school, a lot of this is because in old school sales, which, guys, if this is your sales manager or your sales leader, you need to get a new one, because that doesn't happen anymore. And I don't need to see our logo customized on your demo. I don't need it,
Right.
right? That's not going to sell us. What's going to sell us now, because everything is visible on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to see, show me one of your customers that on the back end, all their logos. I'm fine with that. I can actually envision mine. So, but like, and I get it. Before anyone says, like, there's people that can't and they're not that sophisticated. I get it. But that's what that initial call should vet. So here's how you do it. Hey, you're interested? How much do you know about technology? What do you need to see? And they'll tell you, great, let me do a demo, right? Or, you know what? Why don't I customize it for you and we can talk tomorrow? Like, this is sales 101. And the problem is that now, like, sales training isn't really done anymore, not like it used to be, right? Sales was a really good profession back in the day, and that
Yeah.
you had to understand. But what we have now is a lot of cool ways that we can segment our customer, right?
Right.
So they can come in. So, for example, if we have a city full of masterminds. Right now, we're signing people up for the podcast mastermind. Guess what? We don't care. We're not telling them about everything else. We're telling them about the podcast mastermind because that's what they're interested in, right? Awesome. Then they can find out everything else there is. But, like, listen to your customer. We're begging them to show us.
Literally, literally going, we're good. We understand the tech side of things. We run the back end of a lot of programs. Even if you took like 5 minutes right now to quickly show us the back end, even if you used another customer, just so that we know if we want to dive deeper. Like that to me should.
And most people won't waste your time. They'll just say, you know what? It's, you know what, I was looking for this, or this is a little too complicated, or you know what I mean? And they'll just say, you know, it's not a great fit. And that's it. And so I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. But you know, for me, it's more of a respect thing, you know, like respect my time too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they were looking forward to seeing you on the podcast mastermind training as well. And but no, and I guess that was part of the process that I was fascinated with, which was we're ready, we're good. Yeah. Like again, strike while the iron's hot, and they absolutely were like, no, that is not. So they were so stringent on their process of phone call, front end, and if that goes well, then show back end, that they're not even able to like massage what they were doing or to switch gears slightly to kind of go, oh, they're really interested. Let's show them right now. And maybe we can get the sale today instead of waiting. Yeah. But now, like, I remember, I'm looking at our calendar, like we have a couple tomorrow, which is hopefully the final. And I'm like, which one was that again? Yeah. Like, did we like that one?
And I was looking at it going, aren't we missing one? Isn't there one that we're supposed to have a call with? Where is that call? It's not in my thing. Like, I don't know where it is.
Right. So now what they've done is, number one, they've lost us.
Totally.
We've gotten lost in the process. We were very clear that we were looking at other people to do this thing, so that they could kind of like, we were like, sell us. Like, we already know the concept of these programs.
Yeah, we're your perfect customer. Because we don't even need help. We just need to just show us the back end, and we'll tell you, you know, if this is good for us. And did we get the information? Wasn't that one of them supposed to send us a bunch of stuff?
Yep.
Didn't get it, right?
Other pieces. Now you're waiting for follow-ups, and I'm like, okay, so now he's going to send it, and I'll be like, which one was this again? And did we like that? And now we're making it. They've made it extremely complicated.
Hard to buy.
There's no need for it to be. There's just no need for it.
Then I'll tell you. Well, I just want to mention this other one, which I thought was really interesting. So, you know, we love waitlists. We love that marketing angle. We do that too, and which is legit, but that's the truth. We do. And so, so there's one software that had a waitlist, and it's a big freaking waitlist. It tells you where you are in the waitlist, which is really huge.
I like that.
Yeah, so do I. And I really, really wanted to see this one. I really wanted to see it. And I'm like, damn. So, so I'm on the wait list. I'm trying to move up on the wait list. And I'm sending it to everybody, sign up so I can get up on the wait list. Still really high. So here's the interesting thing. There's nothing that can tell you can't do anything. There's nothing on that page that tells you anything more than that. So I go to LinkedIn. And then on LinkedIn, and they wrote a newsletter or whatever. So I read it. Now, remember, when you're talking to people on LinkedIn, completely different people, you actually have already pre-qualified them, because you figure, which I agree with, if they have a LinkedIn profile, they're probably a little more legit than the average person, because they actually are telling you about their business. So I read it, and then I was reading at the bottom, and then there was a link about, you know, contact us or whatever. So I was like, well, that's the first one I've seen. So I clicked over, and it said, you know, send us an email if you're interested in talking to us about partnering with us. And I'm like, okay, like that's not going to happen because I'm a million on the wait list. So I send them an email. They respond right away and say, we'd love to connect. When are you free? So I sent a note and I said, you know, this week, and they're like, great, let's book it. So we have a call with these people, right?
I hadn't actually talked to you. I just have the meeting in the calendar, but I didn't know the process. Because I hadn't talked to you. That's interesting.
If I had waited over here, right? Waited over here on the wait list, I'd still be waiting. But what I realized was they were pre-qualifying, which we do a lot too in LinkedIn, because again, LinkedIn is more trustworthy than anything else in terms of somebody's business. So they're pre-qualifying. They know you've read their article, right? It's only at the bottom, right? So I love that, the fact that they know that this is a legitimately interested person because they actually read it. Emailed us, not a form, emailed us and asked us to meet, right? So I
Interesting.
loved it, and immediately got back to me. Immediately, like within an hour, the person said, "Okay, when would you like to meet?" And I said, "This week," and they were like, "Great," and that's it.
Because
It's
they
booked.
know that you took initiative
Yeah,
to seek them out and they're
yeah,
rewarding you rather than just, hey, I'll go on the wait list and then you sit
yeah,
back and wait. So that's an
yeah.
interesting lesson
Yeah.
to go
So,
that one
but
step
I
further.
mean, like, look at the difference. I was equally as interested in the other ones,
Hmm.
right? But this one's like, boom, let's talk right away, right away. Not like, oh, we can set up something for next week so we can have our initial conversation. Like, so it'll be interesting. Don't know what's going to happen. We'll tell you about it next week.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they hold the first meeting. It is a video meeting, right?
Well, so
So
first of all, that's a good sign because if
good
you're on a
time.
video meeting and you've booked enough time, you can quickly share your screen.
Yeah,
Go, oh, you know what? Let me share my screen and show you exactly what it is versus the
yeah,
phone call. Okay, well, have a, yeah, you're an okay person. Okay, now
yeah,
let's book the video. Interesting. So
yeah.
good for them.
Yeah, and well, it's kind of, and I would say, we're good too, because what we do is you can book a call, and when on that call, you'll be walked through everything there is in the mastermind, and we'll open the screen and show you what you're gonna get, and walk through, even if it's a walking through of the sales page, but walking through, and you can ask the questions, and we'll explain it to you, and so there's no misunderstanding. You don't have to worry about if you're unsure of something. And that's really it. You need to talk to your customers and talk to your potential clients and say, what questions do you want answered, right? What do you need that I can help you with, so that so I can make your decision easier for you? Because really, people don't hesitate because they don't hesitate because they don't want to do it. They hesitate because of lack of information, right? They can't
Absolutely.
make a decision because there are questions in their head that they might not even know. So if you're with somebody that knows what they're talking about because they run it, they'll be able to say, look, what is it that you're hesitating? What is it that you're worried about? And then we'll be able to draw that out of you so that you can very clearly make a decision one way or another, no pressure, but at least you'll make a decision based on all the information
Yeah.
that is kind of mulling around your head, because that's true. I mean, it's the lack of information that causes somebody not to move forward. If they've scheduled a call for you with you, or if they've, I mean, how many of us leave tabs open of something we're interested in? You're in Chrome, like I just had to close 50 of them because it was making this video lag. But if you're interested in something, you left it open, right? So you're interested. So the question now is, what's going to push you over the edge? What is it that you need to know in order to purchase it, right? Or in order to do it, or trial it, or whatever it is. But ask yourself that. So if you do that, which I would assume all of our viewers do, if you do that, then people are doing it for your business. So they're looking at your stuff going, so there should be somewhere on your website, on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn, whatever, somewhere where they can book a call or book some type of information session with you.
Well, I think it also depends on who you're talking to, right? Like who within the organization are you talking to? Because I
Yeah.
think again, going through the process, I think one of the companies was like, first you had, the sort of, junior person who just sort of vets the people. And
Yeah.
then I think remember yesterday we were on the call and it's like, well, I'm not the person who would do this. I'm just this person. So they were very siloed. And
Yeah.
then he's making an appointment with this person who can actually sort of answer those questions. So I think you're doing somebody a disservice if you're getting on a call with somebody who's potentially sort of a hot lead,
Yeah.
which we were because we were ready and very interested to kind of say, I am not the right person to help you. Then
Right.
why am I on the call with you?
Yeah. Oh, and
And why now do I have to wait?
you just reminded me, when I filled out that form for one of them, one of the questions was, how comfortable are you with technology? And I clicked expert. So
Right.
they just looked at that box and said, oh. Okay,
We
let's just
better
send
put
them right through.
her with the person over here that understands and can fast track that
Fast track
conversation.
it, yeah.
Because
I think,
that was my challenge, is that they kind of say, okay, well, I'm here to show you some customer examples. And then unfortunately, just the downside of that is that he wasn't ready with customer examples. It kind of went a little sideways. But and then what was interesting as well is that so speaking of video calls, he turned his camera off so that he could read the script, because you could tell he was reading a script. Because when we interjected, he backtracked a sentence and continued his sentence. I'm like, so don't do that.
Yeah, and you know what? And I don't blame the person. I blame the organization's training. It's
Yeah,
not like
absolutely.
don't expect people to be able to, off the cuff, be able to do everything unless you've trained them to do it. When I started in sales 1,000 years ago, old school sales and wholesale sales, and I was doing product sales, and I'd have to call on, stores to sell the product. And green as shit, brand new, right out of school. It was the only job I could get. And what was interesting is we had a sales manager who we loved, and he would bring us into the office once a week, and he would do what most people hate, which is role playing, old school stuff. But I learned from doing that. There's no right or wrong. You just learn. So if you're throwing these people in and saying, walk them through, a demo or the process without actually training them, then it's not that person's fault. It's your
No.
fault as the business owner, as the manager, as the VP, whatever your title is. It's your fault because you did not teach them correctly, and shame on you.
Yeah. And then they don't have the opportunity they're not empowered to kind of say, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
We need to fast track this and go through this, and then I can show you this part. So
Yeah. So were you on the call when I know we're on our soapbox today, but were you on the call when I'm trying to remember which call it was? And oh yeah, you were the one call where we were saying, we have no idea we're a customer and we have no idea what you're selling. Like we don't know how to upgrade because we don't have any information.
yeah,
Like,
right.
so weird. We are a customer already who want to buy a suite of products, and we can't find the information because you
Yeah,
don't
they
even
made
market
it,
to
they
us.
kind of put it under this weird sort of category. And it's
Yeah,
like, contact us to find out more details about how, but it's like, why would I contact you for more details that I don't know anything about?
yeah. Like
It
we
was
have no
very,
idea. And they said, hey, one of the questions was, well, what are you interested in? And we're like, we don't know because we don't know what you have to offer. We know you have one this big. We have this piece we're interested in, but we don't know the rest of the stuff. We might be interested in everything, right? So we don't
exactly.
know. That's the information that I don't think we got, right? Wasn't it supposed to be email?
No, because we have another call.
Yeah, but no, they said they were going to email us with some information about it. Remember,
Oh, I
with
don't think we
like,
got that email.
no, I don't think so either.
And
Anyway,
that's the other piece. Again, just to sum it up before we close off our sandbox today. Is that the right word? Soapbox, not sandbox.
soapbox.
Different box.
Yeah.
Totally different box. Is if you say you're going to send somebody information, send it.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise, now when we're going to book that call, the first thing we're going to say is, we don't have the information that we were going to be prepared to ask
Yeah.
questions about in this call.
Yeah.
So now does that make the call useless? So
Right. Very odd. Anyway, that's our story. We're going to tell you next week if we actually purchased anything, and then we'll tell you what we purchased and who did a great job on the 50th call that we
well,
got.
that's the good thing, is that we're kind of going through same process, but we'll see who does the best final call. And
Yeah.
how that did
And
work.
the sad part is, like, our impression, and just think about this, guys, our impression is whoever does the best job, you just naturally assume that their software is better,
Right.
which necessarily isn't, right?
Yeah.
But you would assume that it is because of how they handle the call. So we'll wait and see, what we come out with. So, we're the same. Are there things we can do better? Sure, but we're very, very, very conscious of ensuring that our clients know that they can ask us anything at any time. That's why we have weekly Q&As for all our mastermind members. We never want anyone to be sitting in the background going, I don't know what to do next, or I'm not sure where to go. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, how are you? Ask yourself, as a business owner, if that's who you are right now, or even if you're a middle manager and you have a team, ask yourself, am I clear enough? Do people need information? Can they access me when they want to? Because if you're spending your time doing reels and TikToks and you think that's access, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not access. Go ahead and put that information out, absolutely. But access means you can answer a question. That's what you need to ask yourself.
Yeah. And you know what? Next week, I'm going to talk about the new Instagram feature about broadcast. I don't know what it's called. They have a new feature coming out that actually is along that line. So
yeah,
stay tuned for that one.
Meta's got to do something.
Exactly.
Except for lay off 10,000 people. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Have a good week. And I'm going to figure out how to help my dog rid the world of evil squirrels.